You're listening to the Counterculture Mom Show. Our kids are under fire every day, with the media and pop culture persuading them to give up their faith and Christian values. Stay tuned now as former Hollywood actress and pop culture expert Tina Griffin helps you counter these messages and safely navigate today's pop culture chaos.
The knowledge of the Watchers survived the Great Flood. Found by Nimrod, he used it to build mighty Babylon and usher in the mystery religion. The bloodlines of Earth's secret societies work to usher in a final battle with the Creator. I warn you against shedding blood, indulging in it, and making a habit of it, for blood never sleeps. He need not fear death. No, he desires it. For him to live is Christ, and to die is gain.
Yes, we are going there, people. This is part 2 with our next guest. That was the book trailer for the book Secret Societies, Blood Never Sleeps by Micah Van Huss. Well-spoken and smiling easily, Micah does not immediately emanate the toughness of a man who served 4 tours of duty as a U.S. Marine Corps scout sniper and a Department of Defense contractor in both Iraq and Afghanistan. After returning home from the war zones, he served 4 terms in the Tennessee House of Representatives. In his book, Secret Societies, we study the 13 families of the Illuminati, the very bloodlines that are attempting to usher in a new world order. This is the Counterculture Mom Show. I'm your host, Tina Griffin. Exposing the lies and sharing the truth of Christ is our main mission. This week, it's all about the New World Order. And to help us dissect this beast, I'm with host and producer of Marginal Mysteries, Micah Van Huss. Micah, how you doing, buddy?
I'm awesome, Tina. How are you today?
I'm doing great. You're making me feel like I'm 20 years old again, digging in deep. Actually, 16 when I first started researching the globalists, the Illuminati, Council on Foreign Relations. You know all that shenanigans. And once you go down that trail, it's like you can't get out of it, and you don't want to get out of it. And God keeps giving you more dirt. It's like a special mission. Why do you think you were picked for this special mission of exposing the New World Order?
Well, I guess I don't know why I was picked, but I'm glad God did, because I love studying this stuff, and it's relevant and it's pertinent because Jesus said himself, "As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man." He also says, "Be ready for his return, because it comes as a thief in the night." And so I think we need to know what it was like in the days of Noah, which is directly relevant to the secret societies and what's going on.
Oh my gosh. And we are in the days of Noah, people. Like I keep saying every episode, Christ is right around the corner. It's like, how much of that corner left do we have? We don't know, but I think we're close. You, during your 8-year tenure, you served as the chairman of the Constitutional Protections Committee and sponsored and passed the Tennessee Heartbeat Bill. You rock. Tell us more about that. That is phenomenal. You're saving lives left and right.
It was, believe it or not, it was a hard fight in the House of Representatives in Tennessee. I think we still have the same majority. It was 76 Republicans and 24 Democrats. So the battle really was not between Republicans and Democrats. It was between the conservative fighters in the Republican Party and the moderates. And so the Heartbeat Bill was actually very, very hard to get passed. I'm thankful to Governor Bill Lee, the current governor of Tennessee, because he actually came out in the media and promoted the Heartbeat Bill and supported it. So wow. I'm thankful to Governor Lee for that. And but yeah, it was it was an interesting 8 years, and I misbehaved, and we got a lot done.
Unbelievable. Well, you dropped a bomb in part 1. If you didn't see part 1, people, stop this, go to part 1, watch that, then come to this, because that built a foundation for what we're going to dissect. In part 1, the very first couple of seconds in that video, your video dropped the bomb that George Washington was a Freemason. And I just literally took the kids to go see his home place, Mount Vernon, literally a month ago. Went to the Washington Monument. In the back of my mind, my kids know some of this business, but now I'm going to have them watch your 2-part episode series. People are probably like, what? Are you kidding me? There's no way. I love this show, and now my mind's blown. But we have to go there because Christ wants this stuff exposed to the masses. Right now, it's in the 11th hour and 59th minute, and everything's coming to the surface. So my first question out of the gate for you today is, did the Freemasons mastermind the American Revolution?
They had a lot of influence on it. In fact, I think it goes back to even the Knights Templar, who likely spawned Freemasonry. The Knights Templar, if you look at Christopher Columbus's ships when they came over to the New World, they had Templar crosses on their sails. But as far as the founding of the country, there was a schism in Freemasonry. And yes, George Washington was a Freemason. There's plenty of historical evidence. George Washington himself wrote letters about the Illuminati and Freemasonry. Excuse me, one letter that mentions the Illuminati, but he also wrote letters about Freemasonry. So there was a schism in Freemasonry at the beginning of our country, 1776. And the schism was between the Freemasons who believed in the God of the Bible, George Washington, and the Freemasons who were enlightened, Benjamin Franklin and his ilk. If you notice, the Declaration of Independence uses 3 different words for God, and that shows the struggle between the Enlightenment side of Freemasonry and the theological side of Freemasonry. So at the same year that our country was born, 1776, the Illuminati was also born in Bavaria in Europe. The purpose of the Illuminati was to foment revolution across Europe and by extent the colonies, to usher humanity into a new age of enlightenment. It's the same thing that the serpent told Eve in the garden. If you eat this fruit, you will become as God. That is what the New Age movement pushes. That is what the ancient Eastern religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Theosophy, the Hermetic religions, they're called Hermetic religions because it was the Greek god Hermes who found the knowledge of the Watchers after the flood. We don't necessarily have to go there. But anyway, the schism in Freemasonry, after George Washington passed, you'll find under the Capitol building ceiling today in the rotunda the painting, The Apotheosis of Washington. The apotheosis literally means ascending into godhood. So it's George Washington ascending to godhood, and he's sitting among the Roman gods underneath the Capitol building today. So the Illuminati side of Freemasonry stuck it to George Washington by painting that. Also, there's 72 stars around that painting, which represents the 72 gods put over the nations after the Tower of Babel, the 72 stones in the unfinished pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. A lot of symbolism in the founding and that schism.
Yeah, we got the dollar bill. Was it the $20 bill that had the Twin Towers if you fold it a certain direction where it shows exactly where the planes hit the building?
Yes, ma'am.
I was folding that and doing research on that. I don't know. Right after 9/11, it's just blowing my mind here what's going on. So the Freemasons, you do believe masterminded the American Revolution?
Masterminded. Well, I think the Illuminati had their influence. Of course, the revolution was at the very beginning of the Illuminati. They definitely fomented the revolution in France and across Europe and the different European countries. But yes, Freemasonry. So it was Sir Francis Bacon about 150 years before the founding of America that wrote, well, posthumously, that took his notes and wrote A New Atlantis. He desperately wanted the New World to be Atlantis reborn. Atlantis, a place to bring back the old gods, a place to usher in human enlightenment. We get into the old gods, and again, the serpent told Eve that she would become as God. And that is what the princes of the powers of the air are telling people through New Age, through Theosophy, through the Hermetic religions that, hey, you will one day ascend into godhood yourselves. You don't need that God. You don't need, the God of the Bible, the Hebrew God. You are gods. You don't need it. And so absolutely at the founding, Sir Francis Bacon wanted the United States. And of course, Sir Francis Bacon was a Rosicrucian. So Rosicrucians fall into it. They're very synonymous with Freemasonry. So yeah, it's fun to study for sure.
Oh my gosh, I'm like jotting down 72 images I need just in the first 7 minutes of this interview. Since we're going there, can you dissect the Washington Monument? Do you know anything about why they constructed it, what it means, the height, any numbers or any symbolism with that?
It's the phallic symbol of the obelisk, the Egyptian obelisk. The Egyptian obelisk represents Osiris, resurrection of Osiris. And so we talked a little bit in the last episode about Osiris being Nimrod, who was the first excellent Grand Master of Freemasons, and the possibility that the image of the beast in Revelation is Osiris's mummified body resurrected. This also falls into when they supposedly found the tomb of Gilgamesh under the Euphrates River, I think 10 years ago. If they find the tomb of Osiris, it could mean it's ushering in the end times situations. But first of all, we don't know that that's true. He could be somewhere in the Giza necropolis. He could be under the Great Pyramid. There are different theories. In fact, Freemason documents say that the mummy of Nimrod is under the Great Pyramid. So it's interesting stuff for sure.
Okay, Freemasons. There might be a few people listening to this right now saying, hang on a second, who are they? What are they? What's their agenda? Can you just dissect it literally, Freemason Class 101?
Yes, ma'am. So Freemasons, on their face, are a brotherhood of men to push for virtuous qualities in young men and men as we live our lives. Now, as with all things that Satan does, he pushes forward a Christian version. He pushes forward a good version and says, it looks good. And so Freemasonry is full of the kind of the schism of a lot of the Freemasons believe they actually come from Solomon, who was King David's son and supposedly a good king. I mean, he followed God, but he let his wives sacrifice to Moloch and kill children and other things like that. So that's debatable. But they say that they came from Solomon. He was wise, and so he built his temple. But the other side of Freemasonry say they came from Nimrod. The 1390 Regis manuscript says that Nimrod was the first excellent Grand Master. So we have the princes of the powers of the air, the fallen angels of Satan, who actually are influencing these secret societies. It goes way back to before the flood. The Serpent Brotherhood was the first secret society that we know of. Then it gets into the Solar Brotherhood in Egypt after the flood and after Nimrod. And so the secret societies over the ages, it was not Manly P. Hall, it was Albert Pike who said that Freemasonry passes the knowledge of the watchers on in symbolism and allegory. You don't ever write down the secret. You don't ever tell it. Now, the secret of Freemasonry, if you're ready to get into that, I'll take about 2 minutes to talk about the secret of Freemasonry.
Hey, let's do a commercial break, and then you can gather your thoughts on that. Literally, you need to, well, you did write books, but you need to do like a documentary series and all this thing. I'm looking at that thinking, what you just said took me 10 years to research, and you just like rattle it right off. More with Micah on what we're going to dissect, which will surprise me, so I can't even announce it, right after this.
You've probably noticed how the online world, especially on social media, has taken a negative turn. It's hard to ignore the constant bombardment of explicit content and the overwhelming presence of negative influences that can leave us feeling down, depressed, and anxious. We all know the issues: erosion of family values, addiction, and the alarming rise of human trafficking. These are problems that demand our attention. That's where Tuvu comes in. Tuvu is more than an online platform. We are on a mission to rewrite the script of digital culture, to make a difference, to build a platform that cares about people, family, and communities. Currently, we're creating the largest online community where kindness isn't just an aspiration, but a way of life. We cherish people. We're committed to sound minds and nurturing a compassionate and supportive community. We are dedicated to supporting the next generation, providing a safe, engaging environment for them to grow, learn, and most importantly, have fun. What sets Tuvu apart is the value we bring to our members, combining great tech, compelling content, and a healthy community to help you be the best version of yourself. Say goodbye to cluttered feeds, invasive advertising, and unwanted content. Tuvu presents you with a neat, easy-to-navigate chronological feed, ensuring your privacy and security are our top priorities. Our daily dose of inspiring, fun, and informative content is designed to uplift, inspire, and entertain. Every moment on Tuvu contributes to living your best life. With Tuvu, you can create a wholesome and enriching digital experience for yourself and your family, embracing a supportive online community that truly cares. Join us today at tuvu.com and be a part of a community that's making a difference. Together, we can build a brighter future for all. Tuvu, connecting people, families, and communities.
Hey, everybody, 4th of July is right around the corner. Make sure you stock up and grab a shirt that says, "We the People." Oh, yeah. Wear that for your fun festivities happening on the 4th of July. Caruso T-shirts. That is a company I fully support. Their phrases are catchy, truth-telling, and grab people's attention. And right now, anything that can get a conversation started with a stranger that leads them in the right direction, like faith, family, freedom, is what I'm going to wear until I fulfilled my mission on this planet. Caruso is one of the best ways to get a Jesus revolution started in America. Spread the gospel everywhere you go with a shirt on your back. Check out Caruso.com. Once again, Caruso.com. And make sure after you stock up with all those t-shirts for your friends, family, and everybody else you're going to meet for the 4th of July, that you put in code word TINA at checkout to get 15% off your entire order. Once again, get 15% off using code word TINA at checkout and light those fireworks in style. Micah, do tell, the secret of Freemasonry. What is that secret, which is no longer secret?
It's also the secret of Rosicrucianism. It ties into the pillars of Jachin and Boaz in the Bible. When Solomon builds his temple, he builds the pillars of Jachin and Boaz outside of his temple. Well, Freemasonry has the pillars of Jachin and Boaz in most of the lodges, and in the second degree ceremony, a Mason walks between the pillars of Jachin and Boaz, symbolizing his passing to the second degree. On top of the pillars of Jachin and Boaz, on top of one is a globe of the earth. On top of the other is a globe of the stars, a celestial globe. Well, I like to build up to the secret, but let's just get it out there. So basically, the pillars of Jachin and Boaz, they symbolize the mixing of the earthly feminine with the heavenly masculine. And so that leads us into all sorts of things. We get into scripture when it talks about our DNA, and our book is written. He knew us before we were born. But basically, the secret says that there will be a mixing of the heavenly DNA, heavenly with the earthly DNA. So that could actually be a lot of things. If we go back to Genesis chapter 6, the Watchers coming down and having giant offspring with children, that could be the end time scenario. The secret applies to the end time scenario. It could be demonic possession of the masses. It could be, I think the whole alien phenomenon that we know about is demonic. So it could be when aliens abduct people and harvest their eggs, etc. It could be mixing of chimeras, like I believe the giants were doing before the flood, mixing human and animal DNA. It could also mean, when we talk about the heavenly coming into the earthly, it could also mean the resurrection of Osiris. So the secret of Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism, likely the Watchers coming back on the earth in physical form, but it could be any of those spiritual type things.
Unreal. Do you and your wife go on date nights, and do you get a break?
Oh yeah, we had a date night last night.
That is so funny. Like, I rattle off satanic symbolism in Hollywood and demon-possessed celebrities, and my husband for the last 15, 16 years here is used to me talking about that. My kids know that, but it's so funny hearing you rattle off all this. Does your wife agree with everything that you're researching? Is she interested in all of it? Or is she like, you know what, I'm going to do my gardening and homeschooling the children. You do your thing, and then we'll just find, mutual things to talk about.
As far as I know, she agrees, but she hasn't let me know otherwise.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Is she into like researching all of it as well? Or does she have you fill her in?
She'll watch, I think the latest DVD, a good one, Angels and Giants by Rudy Land, a great DVD. But yeah, she'll watch it with me and we'll talk about it a little bit. But no, it's mostly the guys at work because, that's what I do at work, is talk about the mysteries.
Real. Why is there so much Masonic symbolism in our country's infrastructure? And can you give us a couple different examples of that?
Mm-hmm. We've talked about a number of them, the Apotheosis of Washington, the obelisk. We've got the statue of Isis on top of the Capitol building, literally just over top of the Apotheosis of Washington. You'll see the Freedom statue. It is Isis. The Isis is actually the Semiramis, the wife of Nimrod, and Isis is all of the ancient goddesses, almost all, like 95% of any ancient goddess is Isis. Ishtar, the star of Ishtar. So yes, I think that is actually the Virgin Mary, or what the Virgin Mary symbolizes. And I think in the end time scenario, the I don't want to say the wrong word, the lady who rides the beast, she will actually reveal herself to be not the Virgin Mary, but Isis, the wife of Nimrod. So there's all kinds of symbolism when it comes to it.
Parents with kids at home, can I ask you something heavy but very important? Deuteronomy says to love the Lord your God with all your heart, to commit wholeheartedly to these commands and repeat them again and again to your children. But what if something happens to you and your spouse and you are no longer around to repeat them to your kids? EpicWill.com is here to help ensure your children are raised by guardians who will honor your legacy and raise them up the way you would want them to be raised. Trust me, you do not want a court deciding who will raise your children. Secure your family today by naming a guardian in your last will and testament, as well as the rest of your early estate building needs, like your advance directive, financial power of attorney, and more at EpicWill.com. We are never guaranteed tomorrow. Start the process now at EpicWill.com and use promo code TINA for 20% off. That's EpicWill.com. Protect your legacy and your children's future.
Have you ever wanted to start a charity or ministry? Launching a nonprofit can be time-consuming, expensive, and overwhelming. If you have a vision and mission, but don't know where to start or how to raise donations, Capstone Legacy Foundation is your solution. Their ministry charity project allows you to receive tax-free donations without the expense and hassle of forming your own 501c3, and in less than 48 hours. This ministry partnership fund is exactly how Counterculture Ministries got its start, and we grew quickly. Capstone Legacy Foundation handles all your legal and accounting paperwork, allowing you time to develop the ministry and message God gave you. Call Capstone today at 610-688-8890 or check out capstonelegacy.org for more information. And tell them Tina sent you. Partner with Capstone Legacy Foundation to transform our culture for Christ and get your nonprofit started today.
Why have so many prominent American politicians visited the Bohemian Grove? We talked about Bohemian Grove in the first part. What's your take on that?
I think it's a bit like the Skull and Bones. It's a recruiting ground. I think it's also for worshiping the princes of the powers of the air. The Bohemian Grove, they do it was what made Alex Jones famous in 2000 when him and a cameraman snuck in and filmed the Formation of Care, where they sacrifice a human effigy in front of a 30-foot concrete owl statue. It's like the passing of the sacrificial children to Moloch in the fire. In fact, it was Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon are famously pictured at the Bohemian Grove. So it's a lot of presidents, mostly Republican presidents, but it's a lot of presidents at the Bohemian Grove. So I think it's along the lines of child sacrifice. We get into child sex trafficking. That I think is one of the reasons the border is so wide open. I think taking a child's innocence is also a form. Well, it's obviously also a form of demonic worship. So we don't know the answer to why God desires our worship. We just know he does, and why the evil spiritual entities want our worship, but they do. And people used to sacrifice children. I'm sure they still do. But the whole sex trafficking thing, taking a child's innocence, is part of the worship of Moloch. And of course, you in the situation that you have been in and things you've talked about with Hollywood know a bit about that, I'm sure. Not a pleasant thing.
It all jives perfectly together. In fact, anyone out there right now that wants more info about child sacrifice, is it still happening today? It's tastefully done, but man, is it harrowing. We just had Jimmy Toro on our program for the satanic ritual abuse theme. That series went out in end of April. Everybody has to check it out at counterculturemom.com. It'll give you insight to that. Yes, it's still happening today, horrifically so. It blows my mind. I also had Nathan Reynolds on in the first 100 episodes, first year of the program at counterculturemom.com. Listen to Nathan Reynolds' story. He saw kids literally killed in front of his face, along with Jimmy Toro, with this SRA that's going on around the globe. It's crazy. Talking about sacrifice, do you think they offer human sacrifices to the god of Moloch, an act which was banned by God in the Bible?
You mean at the Bohemian Grove?
Yes.
So from the evidence we've seen of Alex Jones, it's an effigy, and they claim it's an effigy, but without more cameras getting in there, who knows what they're really doing. But they don cloaks, they carry torches, and Republican presidents are there. I'm not talking about actively, but Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon were photographed there. So are they sacrificing literally? Well, they don't have to do it at the Bohemian Grove. What went on at Epstein Island? You know, I believe child sacrifice still exists. I think anybody would be, so yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we have to order your book, Ancient Cities and the Gods Who Built Them. Please tell us more. What can we find in this phenomenal read?
Ancient Cities and the Gods Who Built Them was my first book. I wrote that 3 years ago now. And it's generally about the idea that the pyramids and other ancient buildings, Machu Picchu, they're too advanced for the cultures that we believe that history says built them to have built them. So there was likely giants involved. There was likely watchers and the knowledge of the watchers. We never really got into the knowledge of the watchers. But Revelation 21:17 is one place in the Bible where it talks about angels teaching knowledge to mankind. Revelation 21:17. So Ancient Cities and the Gods Who Built Them follows along that theme, that possibly the gods of Atlantis that were scattered throughout the world when Atlantis was destroyed helped build the pyramids and other structures around the world.
I'm just hearing about this stuff more in detail. You just put like the nail in the coffin for several different massive questions I had in my brain. Usually I'm not this speechless. I am today. SWRC.com, the Southwest Radio Ministries, is where you also have a ministry right here. We can grab your books there as well. But you have a fantastic website that we want to let people know about. Marginalmysteries.com. Once again, everybody, marginalmysteries.com. What can we find here? We have news, events, shop. It looks like everything.
yeah, you've clicked on the shop page. My 3 books that I have written are right there at the very top. The Earth as It Was is the one we didn't talk about, where I talk about dinosaurs and the firmament and all that. At the very bottom down there is my next book, which will be March of 2025, and that is Angels Eternal, War of the Princes. It's 2 rows down, one more. So that's my next book, and that'll come out, Lord willing, March of 2025, where we talk about the War of the Princes and some of the things we've talked about today.
Unbelievable. Everybody out there, watch all 4 episodes. Share them with the masses. It's time to get the truth out there, people. Counterculturemom.com. If you want to donate to the cause, pink donate button, top of the page. Would love to have you join forces. That funding, every dime, will go towards covering airtime costs so we can get this message, what you just said, buddy, out to the masses. We got a couple platforms ready and waiting, and we want to be able to say, we got the cash, let's do this. Micah, keep up the excellent work. Let's throw a steak in the grill and talk firmament with you guys and our family here sooner than later, since we're only, a couple 100 miles apart. Let's make it happen.
Yes, ma'am. God bless you, your family, and your watchers.
Thanks for joining us for the Counterculture Mom Show with your host, Tina Griffin. For over 2 decades, Tina has traveled the globe exposing how pop culture is glamorizing harmful behaviors without showing the consequences, and how these messages are wreaking havoc on today's youth. Through radio, TV, podcasts, and our app, Counterculture Ministries is reaching millions every week with a biblically based message for hope for today's teens and their parents. But we can't do that without your faithful prayer and financial investment. If you appreciate the ministry of Tina and Counterculture Ministries, would you prayerfully consider a generous gift right now? We have a donor matching dollar for dollar. You can give securely online by visiting counterculturemom.com or by texting the word donate to the number 55444. That's counterculturemom.com, or text the word donate to the number 55444. Every dollar is doubled. If you love this show, you can stay up to date on the latest critical issues affecting your family by catching all of our weekly episodes with resource links, signing up for our e-newsletter, and downloading our Counterculture Mom app, where you get timely pop culture alerts. Visit counterculturemom.com for more details. And be sure to join us next week for another edition of the Counterculture Mom Show with Tina Griffin, where we are rewriting Hollywood's script for our kids.